Hi. Okay, well, this is going to be a little different part of our video, and you're probably wondering, okay, what is he doing in the bathroom? Well, the reason is this cabinet that's in our current house is going to play a pretty integral part in the design of our tiny house bathroom. So what I'm going to show you is how this one's built, how it's built above the toilet. Actually, let me get rid of this little light. And see, it kind of protrudes out above the toilet about 10 inches. And so it doesn't really hamper, the business that goes on in a toilet. But here's the side shot. You can see it sticks out about the same amount as the toilet bowl. So what we're going to be doing in our tiny house, the ceiling is actually only going to be 6'8" to maximize the loft space. So I'm 6'5", so the ceiling's only going to be this much above me. So that means this cabinet's only going to be this tall. So what we're going to be doing is it's going to protrude down a little bit further, and then, believe it or not, it's only going to be half of it's going to be used in the bathroom. The other half is going to be used in the kitchen. So that is something that remains to be seen, but I wanted you to see this cabinet so you'll remember it later in our design and what we're going to be framing today in the bathroom. Well, good morning. Okay, well, just showed you a little video about the cabinet and how we're going to utilize that in a bathroom wall. But before we get started, we need to do layout, and there's a few other little tips about how to use lumber. Once again, some of my guys absolutely hated that I would try to do that, but just didn't want to waste it. Now I kind of take it to the extreme. But okay, so I'm going to show you where we've popped the lines for the bathroom wall, and then show you how to draw a crooked board straight. So here we go. First, you can see that we've popped lines here for the bathroom wall. This is the corner. You can see right here, this is the drain and the water supply for the bathroom sink. If you notice, they're not inside the wall. Part of the reason for that is I want to use a 2x4 wall here, and I don't want to have to cut holes in it. So these will wind up coming up through the bathroom cabinet anyway. Okay, here's your toilet water supply. That never goes in the wall. And there's the drain. And then the bathtub drain and supply, those will actually come up in the cavity behind, inside the bathtub. So they'll be hidden well enough. And then I'll turn those two water supplies into the wall for the shower. Now here's the 2x6 backing board I'm talking about. You can see I used a 2x6 right here. Okay, that's to catch drywall here. This wall is going to tie in right here. And then, but if you look at the top, this is scrap board I had. You can see right here, it's not straight. So I took two nails and put them at an extreme angle. And what I'll try to do now is I will try to, excuse the bad videoing there, I'll try to hit this and see if I can't draw that back straight. Okay, well, you see it's not perfect, but I pre-nailed it here on the side of this door jamb, so that held it. And so it's not perfect, but it'll be absolutely great for a bathroom wall. Okay, here's another quick trip. My plate that I'm cutting, I'm sorry, not a quick trip, quick tip. Here is another quick tip. Okay, I'm cutting this plate 82 and 3/4 inches long. So last night when I bought this wood and I was picking the wood, I noticed that a lot of the wood that was in better shape had quite a bit barked edges here. You can see from here, and it grows here all the way nearly to the middle, and then so this is a little bit rough. But there's not many knots here, and it's pretty straight. So instead of spending all night going through it, I knew I'd have about a foot of waste. So, here's my 82 3/4 mark, and you can see to the end is the bulk of that barked edge, which I'm going to cut off, and therefore, you know, I basically have a good piece of wood and very little waste. Here is your next tip. Okay, we've marked 3 plates, okay, for the wall, and 2 plates are going to be 82 3/4. That's represented by this mark right here. But the top plate is 3.5 inches longer, so it can overlap the adjoining wall and tie these 2 walls together at the corner. All right, well, I don't normally do layout with magic marker, but in this instance, just to show you how I'm laying out the bathroom. It's a little complicated just because of the extra cabinetry. Okay, here is our shower valve. This is the toilet drain with the 2. Okay, I'm leaving 12 inches here, just in case I use a wider valve. It'll fit in between the studs, and the shower can come up, and the plumber won't have to get into the wall and do any cutting. There's our end stud. If you come down here, now you can see just another stud, and here is where we start framing for that cabinet inside the bathroom. So we frame it just like a window, same exact thing, except that header will be all the way to the top up here. Okay, forgive the big finger, but this header will be at the top. There'll be no cripple right there. So this is how we're going to get the header, the cabinet, to go through the wall. So you can see I wrote here, the header goes right to the king stud. Here's your trimmer. You'll have a cripple in the middle. That's down below the cabinet. And then trimmer here. Now there's another king stud here because on this side I'm doing another cabinet. Here's the corner of the wall right there, and then you see from trimmer to trimmer there's a header. That's going to be for the cabinet. That's going to go through the bathroom wall for the sink, and on this side for the kitchen. So, but it'll be way down the road before you can see all that and how it comes into play. Okay, very exciting day, mainly because I was able to get the bathroom basically framed up. Now, not including the header over the door, and not including the ceiling, but I'll do that. I got to run to the lumber yard to buy a few more boards. So, but you can see, basically, there it is. Here's the headers for the kitchen cabinets. This is going to be right over this is going to be accessible to the kitchen and the bathroom, and so will this. So when this is done, it'll look like a regular wall, but it'll have cabinets in it that you can get to from both sides. And here is the bathroom door minus the header. So hopefully by the end of the day, I'll be able to finish the ceiling, finish the I'm going to put plywood on the outside of this wall, and I'm going to close in this, and hopefully close in this last little bit of siding right here, because I'm leaving for a week and there's a storm coming in. Of course, it's wintertime. Okay, well, after a long, hard day yesterday, I was able to get the bathroom framed up and the kitchen and the loft area. Now on the loft, the part that's going to be seen from below, this is just temporary, and it's mainly so I can work up there. So this board is just tacked down. This is going to be exposed beams when I get the right lumber. But for now, that's how the loft is going to be. But I wanted to show you in here basically how we frame. So what I wanted to show you is, yesterday I showed you how to lay this wall out. And what I did is, this has a header in here just like a window or a door would. I'll come back and put trimmers underneath. But this is going to be a cabinet here that half will extend into the kitchen, half into the bathroom. So they're centered up over, the cabinet is centered up over the toilet, and this area is centered up, well, it's not centered up, it's just right in where the sink is going to be. Okay, so in the bathroom, what we did is I used 2x4s, which typically you would never use for a loft. But this area up above is just going to be for storage, cabinets and such. It will hold you, because I was up here all day on top of this yesterday. if you glue it and staple it, and it's only a 5-foot span, it'll hold a lot of weight. I'm 260, so what I did was I ran these 2x4s over here, and they're bearing at least 1.5 inches above this wall. Then I put blocking in between, because sometimes when you're trying to just nail 1.5 inches, you know, down like this, it'll split the end of the board. So what I did, I put pressure blocking here. I let it come past a little bit so the drywall or whatever will have backing. And then I nailed this board here and these rafters into the pressure blocks. Okay, so that gives a lot of strength here. On this side, it's a little different story. This is like a rim joist. And so instead of putting a rim joist on this side, I just brought this board all the way and nailed it into a stud like I did here as well. Now above the window I couldn't do that, but I put a pressure block here so you can nail on each side of that. So it's very strong, and it'll hold all the weight that we want. Now we'll walk through this imaginary door, it's not really a door, to the kitchen. And the loft here is a little different. It is on a rim joist all the way around, pressure blocking here. You could leave this permanent if you wanted to, but I'm going to replace these with rough timbers and then put aspen tongue and groove where this plywood is. But that basically gives you an idea how the loft is framed just using 2x4s, because the span is so small. Okay, out here you can see, come this way, and you can see back this way, you can see the loft is only, I'm 6'5", I made the loft only 6'8". Okay, it's as small as we could get it and not be claustrophobic. But that gives us more head space here on the edge. On this side you can see it's nearly 2 foot sticking up over there. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm going to put a beam right here on top of these doublers. It's going to be a beam that extends all the way to the front. It'll come to the front of the building right here. Today I'm going to cut that beam. I'll notch this stud so one of the beams will come in here and sit on top of this, and this one I'll have to put like a hanger to support the beam. So I'll have to cover that up later, but when I get the beam in, then I can go ahead and winterize the end of the building here, just like I did this over here. You can see what I did. I used just some scrap 1x4s and a piece of this hard plastic. I used that up there so I could have daylight and I'd have protection from all the rain. And that's where we are today. Okay, well, now I'm starting to build the beam that's going to hold this open section of roof. What I had was an old concrete beam that was nailed together. I pulled it apart, I left a lot of the nails in it and just cut them off for effect. This is how I glue beams together when I'm going to do join two together. Over here on the wall, showed you earlier, I was going to cut that stud, so I already did that. So created a beam pocket. And here I will come back later with a joist hanger. But basically that's not the ridge, that's a temporary ridge, but that is similar to what this beam will be holding up. And over here you can see I cut a notch out in the wall for it to hold up. So that's how you build a beam. Here's the other half. I've already sanded it down, most of the sanding, so I won't have to do it in place. Well, hi, it's Chinese New Year, February the 7th, I guess, and I was able to had to spend a week in San Antonio, so before I left I needed to basically winterproof this thing, or weatherproof it. And if you can see behind me, you can see where I built a big tent, which was there. It's been there for a while, but the ends were open, so I took a piece of like this plexiglass and put on the end, because it'll be there a while until I finish framing everything. So, excuse me. So I want to show you what I did today. Basically what I did was found an old thrift store storm door and put it in so I would have a, some type of weatherproofing instead of, piece of plywood, which is what I had before. So even though it's a little bit small, it's 34 inch instead of 36 inch. It'll work for now. And so I find that I've made a mistake, and now it's going to take a little time to fix it. So I'll show you what that is and how we're going to rectify that. So anyway, last time I was putting in a beam, building the beam, and now that is done. Unfortunately, in putting up this beam, what I realized was that the loft space, which is over here, this space from this area here all the way to the wall is only about 4'8". To put a queen bed up there, that needs to be 5'5", plus there has to be space to walk. So this beam is going to have to move over. This right here, what I did, I built this beam pack out. It's going to have to move over to about here, basically where those two boards are, those two 2x4s. Those are the actual plates for the wall, partition wall, that will go up to the ridge. So what else is going to have to happen is I'm going to have to take this beam and move it all the way to this point right here. So I'll have to cut all this out, slide it that way just to gain about 6 inches. I can do a few more tricks if I want. If I want to take and put this beam here instead of on top of a trimmer, then I could use some steel and do an angle piece here, but I don't know if I'm that ambitious for just 1.5 inches. So I've got the whole tiny house dried in. You can see that the day before I left on Sunday, I built this little loft thing behind me just so I could winter-proof that area up there. You can see what I did. I basically just took some junk wood and made a fake gable-in wall, once again with some clear plastic, just for heat during the sunshine and protection from the rain. And this is the bathroom, which I've shown you before, but what I didn't show you, and we'll see if it'll show up in the dark, is for the time being, to save myself some time, I built some shelves, and I found this old shelf in the dumpster in the alley behind my house. So embarrassing. But anyway, that'll provide storage for nails and those types of hardware that I'll use throughout the rest of the project. So we're pretty much dried in and somewhat secure. And next we'll start moving that beam over, and probably the next time I do a video, we'll start building the center wall. Okay, see you then.